And what do you make of this grassroots movement that is MAGA?
Yes, so I guess this is to me, first of all.
Yes.
So I distinguish this in two ways. So first of all, in terms of the on-the-ground activism in this election, the reporting that I've read suggests that the Democrats did actually have a very extensive, as they called it, ground game. The Democrats had raised a lot more money than the Republicans and were able to invest that on more boots on the ground on election day. And I think one of the things that these elections of the last few cycles have shown us is that just getting people out and knocking on doors is not necessarily sufficient to obtaining victory. That there is a whole online environment now which is becoming more and more significant, and in many ways actually the way that you are more likely to reach voters now is through social media and through digital means than knocking on doors or ringing up people in an age when people don't answer their phones and don't answer the door to people they don't know, or live in environments where it's even difficult to find someone's front door. So that's just on the kind of practical matter. So then on this kind of, on the grassroots, the Trump movement, the MAGA movement, I mean, Trump has benefited from having a core constituency that is very loyal to him, that trusts him, that is willing to see beyond when he might make mistakes or put things in a way that causes pushback against him. And I think that we can't underestimate the importance of that actually for a politician to be able to have that loyal core. Now, that's not to say that these are people who have no thoughts of their own and they just take all of their signals from Donald Trump. But it does mean that when the going gets tough, Trump has a cushion, has a base that he can kind of return to and rebuild in a way in which most politicians don't have that. And when the going gets tough, the foundations fall as well.
Yeah. Patrick?
What do you make of MAGA?
I would underline what you've just said. I think two factors in that. If we're talking about something about grassroots, I think one of them is Donald Trump himself, much more so than Kamala Harris, elicits a very, very strong response, both on the positive and the negative side. His detractors have very, very strong criticisms of him, and his supporters are fervently supporting Donald Trump. He's a cult of personality, as you alluded to as well. So he is able to drum up a lot of support. His rallies have large size, large attendance, fanatic response. If you've ever attended one of those or seen one of those, it's really something to behold. The second part of that, though, is what we alluded to earlier. If we're talking about grassroots, I think the shift in coalition, again, I think is one of the big stories in current U.S. politics, and that the Republican side of U.S. politics has been able to now attract support from working class voters and those who are very, very sensitive to the economic issues. They've been able to broaden their coalition, and that includes voters that Democrats were able to rely on for many cycles, generations, certainly throughout my youth. And they've struggled to replace those voters with a different kind of voter, and have fled to more educationally polarizing cultural issues, which proved to be, I think, divisive among the Democratic voters.
Thank you. Craig, MAGA.
So I think this is actually a very important question for the future, which is not so clear, because so much of MAGA is driven by Trump's personality, which is essentially driven by his appeal on media, reaction, and social media. So will this remain after Trump is gone? I'm not so sure. He has appointed J.D. Vance as his vice president, first candidate, and now to be the next vice president of the United States. And that was a signal that he wants MAGA to continue as his legacy in the Republican Party and not fall back on the old coalition, which was essentially religious conservatives, big business, and neoconservatives. I would say that would be the previous trinity. And now they've added the working class into there. And they might continue on those issues of border enforcement and protecting American workers if they see that it pays off electorally. And I think J.D. Vance will want to continue in that direction. And this new element of the tech right, as I say, Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, Mark Anderson, I think they're going to stick around because they want to be able to innovate. They want to be able to continue to do things in America and not face the kind of stagnation that we have in so much of the rest of the world. But I think it's a really open question. And one of my concerns would be that it fizzles out because MAGA country, it's often parts of the United States that are hurting. It's less educated parts, sometimes less socially cohesive. And there's a risk that it fizzles out. But I think they are working to make sure that isn't the case.